When you think of the best consoles for horror gaming, there's usually a few that come to mind. The PlayStation 2, maybe a few others, but I can guarantee there are two that usually don't pop up, and that is the Wii and the Wii U. Frankly, there's actually not a lot of horror games for those consoles. So I'm combining both of them into this video in which we'll be discussing the top 5 games I think you should avoid for these consoles. Frankly, there is not a lot of horror games on these systems, which is the reason I'm combining them here. There really just isn't enough Wii U games to really make much of a list. I'm Adam the Horror Historian, welcome back to the classroom, and today we are discussing the top 5 Wii and Wii U games I think you should avoid. And how many people really remember the Wii U, besides like me and one of my coworkers? And when I even hook up this console, trust me, none of these games are on my list of things to play. There are 33 horror games on the Wii and only 9 on the Wii U. To be fair, the entire catalog of the Wii U is lacking. I would like to say that I'm automatically not including games like Monster High, considering how horrible Mattel is at recognizing fair use when discussing the video games. This is my list of games. I'm aware some of you are really going to disagree with a few of these, especially one which I will be saving for last. How a game makes this list? Well, there are a few factors that are taken into consideration. Gameplay, graphic or art style, storytelling, and finally, is the game actually fun to play? In my opinion, this last one actually trumps the other ones. You'll see what I mean. The game can be pretty with a decent story, but if I hated to play it the whole time, then I can't give it a pass. One thing I will not be using is the scariness factor. That one is even more subjective, and I have never lost any sleep due to a game. If I counted it, every game would fail. Why can't The Walking Dead get a decent game after the Telltale series? Survival Instinct actually does a few good things, but this is one I would go out of my way to avoid on the Wii U. Now, this is actually the only one from that console on that list. The runner-up is Zombie U, and the one thing that game has over The Walking Dead is sometimes it's actually fun to play. You take control of Daryl, everyone's favorite badass from the show. This could have been a great opportunity to flesh out the character because this is a prequel to the TV series. Sadly, this falls short, just like every other area of this game. The art direction of the game doesn't look like something that should have come out on the Wii U. Let's not forget that this console was Nintendo's first HDMI compatible system, and it looks like something the Wii could have handled just fine. Also keep in mind that at this time we have BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us, so it's not winning any awards there. It's a basic first-person shooter. It does want you to push stealth over running and gunning, but the zombie AI makes it kind of pointless. Just climb on a car and shank the zombies to get rid of them, or just run past them. You can pick paths in which your group will take, created some really interesting aspects of the game like running out of gas or having breakdowns, but the game falls flat here too. It's not that this game is the worst I have ever played, but it was the first of a long line of disappointments when it comes to the franchise. Voiceover by Norman Reedus and Michael Rooker are on point, but that's the best I can say about this one. An abysmal rush game of barely connected ideas that brings the player little more than frustration and disappointment. Calling this a game can be a big stretch. When I ordered it, I knew nothing about it, but I really wanted to work on my Wii collection. So I ended up with it. IGN gave it a 6.2 out of 10, so how bad could it be? Well, it's a really poor version of Where's Waldo. Now it claims to have puzzles, but here's how that works. Some items are broken down into pieces and then split between different areas. It's mostly a static art style, point-and-click gameplay, and if there's a story, frankly, I couldn't stick around to finish the whole thing. It's paper thin at best, but I wasn't sure what I should be expecting. I really have no idea what else to say about this. I have a hard time even referring to this as a game. Well, at least this one's a game. Ju-on is based off the film franchise that was a major part in popularizing Japanese horror films here in the US. But this is not living up to that level. The game is separated into 5 areas and actually uses the pointer on the Wii as a flashlight. Frankly, this is not the only game that uses that, but I still think this is a good idea for survival horror. Graphically, the game is rough. I know this is on the Wii, so there shouldn't be the highest expectations, but this is a weak outing in the art department. The only reason I think it actually looks better than something like The Walking Dead is because most of it is so dark you don't see all the flaws at once. It's basically cheating, but it works with the source material as well. While I'm thinking of the source material, the story is something that is special, to say the least. A great way to make you connect with a character is watching them deal with hardships over a period of a game. That isn't the case with this one at all. Instead, they went with each chapter focusing on one member of the Amata family, except for the first and last chapters, which are the same member, Erica. Now this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to know the results of the game, fast forward a little bit. Now Erica was the one who was cursed in chapter 1. After that is that every member of the family dies. And in the last chapters, so does Erica. We don't learn anything new or interesting about the curse, or the Siaki family, which was a massive missed opportunity. The gameplay shouldn't be something too hard to pull off, except for one major issue in this one. There's no nunchuck support. At all. To go forward, you have to push and hold the B button. You can move the pointer around the screen to dictate where you want to go, but the choice not to use the nunchuck to walk around is a massive setback and made the game hard to control as well. Rough graphics, a disappointing story, bad controls. As a heads up, it's also not fun to play. I won't even pretend. I hate this game. First off, the game looked rough when it came out on the 360, but the ports to the PS2 and Wii were awful. There have been plenty of memes for this title, and they are all deserved. Let's start with the controls. Never have I been playing a game and thought, wow, I wish I had a goddamn button to blink. Yes, that's right, you have to blink in this game. When I did my live stream of this, I learned that you can actually blink in third person. Why can I blink in third person? Yes, this game is first and third person. Also, you blink a lot. And even did a video for the worst of the worst where I did a count of how many times you blink in the intro. The Wii controls are very unresponsive, so I didn't even make it out of the introduction area. It plays bad. Its story is a bad reboot of a reboot. It controls horribly, and there is nothing fun about the gameplay. And this is where I'm going to make a lot of people very mad at me. I don't like Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Now, before you hit that thumbs down button, give me a few minutes and let me explain my point. I came to Silent Hill when I was older and actually fell in love with the lore of the games long before I ever played them. So I quickly became a fan and then went to play every one of them I could, including an emulated version of the arcade game for a little bit. I was given this game by my ex, and she said I could have it under one condition. I had to get further in the game than she did. This game gets the flashlight mechanic down. The movement is mostly okay except for when you have to run away because there is no fighting mechanic at all. To say that part is clunky is an understatement. There's a game mechanic that I hate more than running sequences, and that you are punished for looking around. For example, there are some lewd images in the game. If you look at them, the game will start to cater to that kind of imagery. Why are you punishing me for wanting to look at everything in your game? Also, Silent Hill is known for its amazing story and lore. I'm not going to praise a game that took the core element from what made the first game great and watered it down so much they could have called it anything else and no one would have noticed. Game Informer posted, "Shattered memories, frustrating control flaws, and dull pacing make it a hard game to recommend. Its engaging characters, improved story, and unique profiling mechanic only make it worth checking out for diehards." I'm sorry, improved story? All it did was dumb down a narrative so you no longer had to think at all. I'm not going to say that Silent Hill is the best written story ever, but I'd rather have to piece together what is actually going on instead of being fed narrative slop. Alright, 5 games down that I think you should avoid at all cost. The Walking Dead, Survival Instinct, Mortimer Beckett, Alone in the Dark, Ju-On, and finally Shattered Memories. I know this list is not something everyone's going to agree with. There is a reason I did not make this a hard-numbered list. But if you disagree, what game would you replace Shattered Memories with? I'm sure that's the most that people are going to try to challenge me on. Thank you for watching. Yet again, if you do have a game that you think should be on the list instead of Shattered Memories, let me know. Also, if you could, like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. We're trying to grow the channel. We're already working on the next video. We'll be looking at an iconic first-person horror game from the mid-2000s. Until then, long days, pleasant nights, and may you have twice the number.